Tuesday, everyone. We got a fun work set coming your way. We got some strength work coming up. So let's talk about what we got going on and then ease into our work sets today. To start off our day, we have a Sumo good morning, 5 reps, nice and slow, dynamic triangle for 3 a side, windmill for 3 a side, Kang Squat coming back at you for 5, and then a narrow stance squat for 3 at a 3-3-3 tempo. 2 to 3 rounds there coming at you. Then we're going to move into the bottom piece for 3 to 5 rounds. So this again gives you that kind of chance to kind of choose how much volume you'd like to play with depending on how much time you have in the day. We have a foot assist pistol for 8 to 10 reps per side, 3 second down, rest 20 seconds, back lunge for 10 a side at a 3 second lower, rest 20 seconds, and then a dumbbell deadlift for 10 to 15 at a 3 second lower as well, with a rest of 40 to 60 seconds in between your rounds. So play with this, very similar work set to what we've done in the past, except we've extended some reps. So if you have it in you, kind of extend a couple reps in that range, see where it takes you, pushing that volume a little bit. From there, we're going to move into the next phase, which is 3 to 5 rounds. Tuck hollow with extension for 20 to 30 seconds, rest 20 seconds, bridge pullback for 10 to 30 seconds, rest 20 seconds, bird dog for 10 alternating reps, 1 to 2 second holds, and then a 40 to 60 second rest in between those rounds. Again, this one is going to go a little faster than this first piece because we have some single leg work here. This piece, like I say, is going to be a little bit quicker. So take your time, play with it, have some fun, perhaps mix and match your rounds, maybe do 3 here, 5 here, who knows, whatever you want to do, and give yourself that time and that dose of work today. Let's get you warmed up and ready to go. All right, let's get those legs ready to go, fire it up, let's get those feet under the hips, take the arms up big and tall, we're going to stretch it over to one side, we're going to come back through to the other side, we're going to come back up, we're going to take it all the way down to the floor, touching those toes, we're going to walk up the shins, we're going to come back down, framing the foot, we'll step back into our lizard, planting that hand on the front leg, lock those legs straight, we're going to turn the body, come back to center, lower the knee, press the hip, come back to center, press the hip, to center, and press the hip, back to center. We're going to straighten out the back leg, turn, come back to center, plant the hand, and then we'll step back into our down dog, reaching those hips super high. Just going to press and walk those feet out after those jumps / steps from yesterday, just to work out those ankles a bit. We'll come back into our plank, step the other foot up. Inside hand, locking that foot down in place, we're going to turn the torso. We'll come back to center, lower the knee, press the hip, back to center, press the hip, to center, and press the hip, back to center. Straightening out the leg, turn, come back through, plant the hand, step back into our down dog, reaching those hips nice and high. We'll walk those heels nice and slow, back and forth, waking things up a bit, nice and steady, and then we'll come back into our plank, tiptoe those feet all the way up, rolling ourselves up, big stretch overhead, we'll reach to one side, reach to the other side, oh yeah, come down with those hands, woo. Get you fired up and ready to go. If you'd like to do a little bit more gentle warm-up, maybe for the ankles, for the hips, who knows, whatever you need to do for yourself, please take that down now, pause the video, get yourself ready, and then join me for our first phase of warm-up. Our first phase of warm-up is going to start off with a Sumo good morning. So I'm going to turn profile to you guys so you guys can see. My feet are in that Sumo stance, so that slightly wider stance. I'm going to stand nice and tall with a good glute squeeze. I'm going to keep my torso up and I'm going to hinge at this hip crease. So I'm going to pull my hips back, softening through the knees as I hinge, taking it to about that 90 or 45 degree, standing tall and opening up those hips fully. Pulling the hips back, nice and stable, stand tall, and work through that nice smooth hinge. So remember, it's that hip drawing back that pulls the chest forward. That allows our back to stay flat and locked into that good spine position. From here, we move into our dynamic triangle. So my feet are going to stay in my Sumo stance for most of this warm-up actually. 1 one toe is going to turn to the side, the other toe is going to turn off of the angle. I'm going to bring a hand to the thigh, pressing up to the ceiling. I'm going to pull the hip back in that nice, smooth, dynamic triangle and stand tall. So like our good morning, how we pulled the hip back to get that hinge, we're pulling that hip directly back into our heel to get that body tip. So that's going to make our body hinge in a different way into that lateral movement. So we want to think hip and then continue on down towards the shin as we rise up nice and tall. After that, we're going to continue working through some of that overhead work and that T-spine kind of mobility with our windmill. So I'm going to press one arm overhead to the sky, other hand is going to be down towards the floor, and that's going to be my kind of reaching hand. I'm going to be actively holding that arm up. I'm going to pull back like my good morning, but then I'm going to rotate through my low rib, taking my hand as far down as I feel comfortable, focusing on this shoulder position. So as I turn at the low rib, I want to make sure that this shoulder turns with me, not on its own. So we're really paying attention to locking this arm into its position and just rotating at the low rib. And then coming back up nice and tall. From here, we move into our Kang Squat. So our Kang Squat is a little different. It's a combination of our good morning and our squat. So my feet are going to come into my regular squat stance. I'm going to pull back into my good morning. And then from here, I'm going to pull my hips down and forward into my squat stance and squat position. Then from here, I'm going to push my hips back up into that good morning, nice flat back, and then open up those hips. So it's a really nice opportunity to really work that good hamstring engagement, and then pulling the hips, working on those ankles, and then I push those hips back up, really lengthening out those hamstrings, and finishing off with a nice stand-up tall good morning. Last but not least, we have our narrow squat stance. So that can be anything inside my regular squat. I'm going to bring my feet in to wherever that happens to be today, and then I'm going to work those regular squat mechanics. I'm going to take those hips to the heels, knees tracking the toes, chest fighting to stay upright as best I can, and then I stand. I'm working this nice and slow at a 3-3-3 tempo, just working to the range that I have today and trying to open up those hips, knees, and ankles the best I can. Quick recap, we have a Sumo good morning for 5, dynamic triangle for 3 aside, windmill for 3 aside, Kang squat for 5, narrow squat for 3 at a 3-3-3 tempo. 2 to 3 rounds, use that to warm the body up, get yourself ready to go for our work that's about to come. Pause it, rock it, come back and join me. Welcome to our first work set. Our first work set, 3 to 5 rounds. Foot assist pistol, 8 to 10 per side, a little bit more volume than last time, at still holding that 3-second tempo down. So our first exercise, we get set up. I'm going to turn profile so you guys can see. My feet are going to be kind of under the hips. So I'm going to take one toe back into that nice tripod position. I'm going to keep my hips square to the front. I'm going to think squat. I'm going to pull my hips towards my heel, keeping all my weight over top of that balancing leg, keeping that tall torso, and I'm going to push through that leg, using this for assistance if I need it. Now, as that's getting better and stronger, if you'd like to load it a little bit, you can, all right? Or we can take away our foot for balance. But first things first, get the depth and range with the tripod, then move to the loaded, and then come and work on this variation without that balancing position. So what you're going to do is you're going to tuck that toe on the back of the heel and the ankle, which is going to allow you to stay stable and square with a little bit of foot assist, but it's going to take away the balance aspect. So we still have to work on the balancing on that leg and working on that stability through the knee and the ankle as well. So it's going to be a good challenge if it's getting easier, but I want you to take it to where you're at. So first things first, kickstand variation, working depth, then adding a little bit of load with the kickstand variation, and then taking away that balance and working that foot on the back of the heel. After that, we get a 20-second rest, and then we're going to work on a back lunge for 10 per side. Again, a few more reps than last time. 3-second negative. So what we do, I'm going to get myself set up in my squat stance this time so I keep my body nice and wide. Now I'm going to take myself back. I step. I'm going to lower. 3, 2, 1. Stand tall. Step back. 3, 2, 1. Stand tall. Trying to keep that front knee over top of the heel, that back knee under the hip, under the shoulder, and keeping my body as upright as I can when I'm working on that lunge. I can load this as well at a goblet or a suitcase or farmer's, depending on what you have access to and how comfortable you are with lunging. So if you'd like to load it, please do so. Load it at the positions that's going to allow you to be most successful and challenge your position. You'll do 10 on one side, 10 on the other side. So it's going to get a little fatigued on that one leg, working on that nice, solid 3-second eccentric. Last but not least, we have the dumbbell deadlift. And depending on what you have access to will depend on where you hold the dumbbell. So we have a few different options. We have a 3-second negative. So first things first, I'm going to show you the conventional. My feet are a little narrower under the hips, or even a little narrower than that, just to allow the dumbbell to have a free path and not get kind of tampered with the knees. I stand up nice and tall, I keep my chest tight, my dumbbell's going to stay to the side, or I have 2 dumbbells, and I'm going to hinge 3 seconds down. So it's going to take my hip back, taking it down, 3, 2, 1, to wherever I feel comfortable, and then stand. So if I cannot maintain that back position, that is primary focus before we start trying to touch the floor. All right, so back position is paramount. That's what we want to focus our attention on, not touching the ground. Now, if you would like to do the sumo, the hinge is the same. So if we only have access to 1 dumbbell, you can do 5 on one side, 5 on the other, total count of 10 to 15 reps, but the dumbbell is going to be between your feet. And we're going to take that hinge the same, back and down. The only difference is we may be able to find a little bit more range while still maintaining that back position. So focus again on that good back position as your primary focus with that 3-second negative as we work through that deadlift. So again, if you're doing a single dumbbell, we'll half the reps on one side, half the reps on the other side. If you have 2, conventional, and you'll just take down those reps with a 3-second eccentric. Resting 40 seconds to 60 seconds in between rounds. There's nothing wrong with adjusting and playing with different loads each round if you have access to different dumbbell loading. So please keep that in mind. You don't have to keep the same weight. You can up it, but keep in mind we want to make sure that we can hit all the reps with the loading that we choose. Quick little recap. We have 3 to 5 rounds. Foot assist pistol, 8 to 10 reps per side. 3-second eccentric, rest 20 seconds. Back lunge, 10 reps per side. 3-second eccentric, rest 20 seconds. Dumbbell deadlift, 10 to 15 at a 3-second eccentric, rest 40 to 60 seconds. Take that down to whatever dose you'd like, 3 to 5 rounds. It's going to take a little longer because there's 2 single leg movements in there, but keep in mind, if you want to go a little more volume, rock it, go for 4 to 5 rounds. If you have to press for time, stick with 3. It'll take you roughly about 20 minutes. Pause the video, take that down, come back and see me. We're going to talk about our gymnastics piece and then finish off our day together. All right. Our last work set, 3 to 5 rounds. A little gymnastics work and some body weight work. We have our tuck hollow with extension. So we're going to work on stretching out our hamstrings a little bit while working on compression in our midsection. I'm going to lay on my back, and this is a nice chance for us just to work on a nice big long stretch. So give yourself a good morning stretch. Anytime we're on our backs, it's always nice to stretch out long. I'm going to bring my feet up flat. I'm going to work on finding that hollow first. So I'm going to pull the ribs and hips in so my low back is in contact with the floor. I'm going to pull my knees into the chest, toes together, and then I'm going to pull my ribs and my hips together even more as I lift my shoulders and my knees together, trying to create that nice little tuck hollow. Once I've established the tuck hollow, I'm going to work on straightening the legs while still maintaining that tuck hollow the entire time. So trying to keep the knees and shoulders as close together as we can as we work on that extension. It's a very challenging movement to maintain that compression. It depends on those hamstrings. So if the hamstring position is a challenge for you, you're like, wow, I can barely get those legs straight, or I can't get them anywhere close to straight, You can keep one foot down. You can work on that compression and work on straightening a single leg at a time. Just half the time frame. So if you're going 30 seconds, you do 15 seconds per side. If you're doing 20, you'll do 10 per side. The core is not going to know the difference, but it will allow you to get that hamstring a little more straight and a little bit longer in that extension position. So play with it, see where it takes you, and if you need to drop that foot, work on one leg at a time for maximal hamstring sensation. Our next exercise, we're revisiting that bridge pullback. So we're going to tighten up the hamstrings a little bit. So we just kind of extended them a bit, and now we're going to contract them. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down into our bridge position. So our low back is kind of neutral. We're going to pull the ribs in a little bit. My feet are just outside of my fingers. I'm going to squeeze, and I'm going to lift into my bridge. So my ribs are still in. My weight is kind of through my entire foot for my bridge. I'm going to shift my weight to the ball portion of my foot. And then I'm going to pull my feet back, but they're not going to move. It doesn't look like I'm doing much, but my legs are shaking right now, and I can feel my hamstrings kick on, tightening up and holding that tension really, really well. So what we want to focus our attention on is that nice pullback. So as I pull my foot back, my foot is connected to the ground, and it's not going to move anywhere, but you're going to feel some serious hamstring tension. Now, there's a big difference here, and I talk to people about this all the time. Setup for this is important. We pull our ribs in, we get a little tuck through the pelvis, we squeeze into our bridge, and now from here, shifting our weight to the balls of our feet is different than pushing into our toes. We just want to shift the weight so we feel the majority of the weight through this portion of our foot. So that front portion, balls of the feet, little foot pads. So we're not pushing into the toes, we're just shifting our weight forward so there's a little bit of freedom through the heel, and then we pull that foot back. Challenging, have some fun with it. There's a range of 10 to 30 seconds, so you can either choose to do 30 seconds and accumulate that time. Don't feel like you have to jump right to holding the whole 30 all at once, because I don't want your hamstrings to cramp up. I want you to feel them, I want you to engage them, but I don't want them to go that one step further and cramp up and say, hey, I need some time to recover from this now. So ease in, feel that contraction, and then build yourself to the time you want to accumulate. After that, you're going to get a 20-second rest, and then we're going to come into our tabletop. And we're going to work on our bird dog. So our bird dog is very similar to our dead bug, except we're on our knees. So I get myself set up in my table. I'm going to pull my ribs in just a bit and press my shoulders up, but I'm not super arching out like a cat back. I'm just setting my ribs and pressing my shoulders. I'm going to extend my right hand, left foot, trying to stay as square and long as I can. I'm not trying to extend the leg way up, but I am trying to keep the hips square to the floor. So first things first is getting that nice set position, working on that leg. So if this is a challenging piece for you, keeping that hip towards the floor, I have no issues with you working on extending the leg, and then lift the arm, and then bring it back down. If moving both pieces together is just a little bit too much to set that good hip position, then separate the two of them out. That's totally fine. If you're like, no, I'm doing pretty good with that one, take your time. Remember, this is not about speed. We are going to be holding each of these reps 1 to 2 seconds per side. So every rep, you're going to hold for a beat or two as you extend. Again, too, when you come back into the table, reset your position, make sure your hips are square and level, and then move into the next one. So the more methodical approach we can take to these bird dogs, we'll be able to maintain those positions that much more in our work set. So as a quick recap, you guys, we have our tuck hollow with extension, 20 to 30 seconds of just dynamic extension through the knee, or through the leg, sorry, pulling those ribs and hips in, working on pulling into that compression the entire time. So this never gets a rest. The hamstrings are going to be extending and contracting as we kind of move back and in, but this is always firing nice and tight and strong. Rest 20 seconds, we're going to move into the bridge pullback for 10 to 30 seconds accumulative. Rest 20 seconds, bird dog for 10 alternating reps, 1 to 2 second holds per side, and then you're gonna move into a 40 to 60 second rest, jumping back to the top, and going for 3 to 5 rounds. So again, this piece is gonna be a little faster than the other one because there's less single leg stuff, and it's a little bit more time related opposed to rep related. So take your time. If you want to add a little bit more volume to this one, you can. Take down 5 rounds or 4 to 5 rounds. Or if you're like, yeah, I'm good with 3, awesome, take it down. Give yourself the dose you need. Pick your adventure for today. All in all, you guys, I'm super pumped to hear about the strength work, how it goes, and how it felt today. Tomorrow we have some gymnastics work coming at you. I'm excited to introduce you to a new movement that's going to be a different drill for handstand work, but we don't actually have to go upside down. So it's a really cool little drill that involves a lot of tension, and I'm excited to introduce that to you guys tomorrow. So until then, always have fun, work for quality, and we will see you tomorrow for some fun stuff and some more programming. Bye, you guys.